Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Anecdotal Economist. Today we're going to look at gold versus just about anything else. And I specifically want to talk about stacking versus a hobby. See, for me, a hobby that I have is automotive. I like cars, and I plan to buy and collect many cars over the years. I have a few right now, and maybe a few more in the works. But you could really replace this example with anything out there. You could talk about being a golfer, Hot Wheels, trading cards, whatever you want. You could compare this. But for this example, I'm going to use automotive. And I'm going to encourage you to use the same strategy I am doing with whatever hobby you have. And think about it a little bit differently. So first, I have a relatively inexpensive car. We're going to say it's worth about $20,000. It's a Mustang, so reasonably cheap to repair. So just to buy the car, let's represent that in gold. So what I've got here, 3 ounces, well, that's not quite enough. There's 6, we're still not there. That's 7 ounces, that gets us almost to the 20,000 we need, and here is a British sovereign. We're gonna call that about a half an ounce to round us up to that $20,000. So right there, just that little thing right there, that buys me the car. That's the amount of gold I could have bought. Now next, I'm gonna need to do some insurance. Now I'm gonna try to be conservative. Let's say I'm getting a really good deal. So we'll take this little 1/10 ounce maple here. I'm trying to stay with the theme as best I can. And that covered our insurance. And by the way, I'm only looking at this from 1 year perspective, and I'm actually gonna move that insurance cost down here. And we're gonna move this other gold out of the way just to make it really clear. So this is our initial cost that we should theoretically be able to get back. That's our insurance. But we might also want to make some basic upgrades. And depending on what you're doing, that's not going to be cheap, or you might just have to do some repairs. So we're going to say repairs and upgrades, well, that could cost you about $1,000. So here's a half ounce maple to represent that particular portion of the vehicle. Now, if this is a sports car, you're probably not going to use it for your A to B, but you might take it on a weekend drive, which means you're not going to burn a ton of fuel, but very likely it's going to cost you something. So here is a set of 12 silver generic Buffaloes. Let's just assume once a month you use about, in today's prices, $34 in fuel. I think that's fair. And I'm going to assume I'm not putting a ton of miles on this thing, but I do have to do an oil change from time to time. It's also going to include things like air filters, belts, maintenance, just general maintenance, brakes every so often. So let's just say once a year, an oil change might cost around $100, but I think we also need to account for some of those exceptional maintenance things where you have to flush out the tranny or whatever else it might be. So I'm going to say your standard maintenance is going to cost about 6 maples. We got one 2-ounce werewolf coin here, just for fun. Stack that on there. Oh, and then one last thing. If you live in a cold climate and you don't want to tie up your garage for the winter, you're going to need some storage. And that could easily be, well, somewhere between $400 and $600 unless you're getting a good deal, which not all of us do. So a little more gold there. Now, you're thinking, okay, well, it's not that bad because at least I get the value of the car back. And, well, that's not that crazy, right? A little bit of gold every year, it's not even a full ounce. Except for you forget that cars generally lose their value. If you get in an accident, they lose their value. If you drive them, they lose your value. And if it's a newer car, even if it just sits there, it loses value. Now, most data says that on average driving, under average conditions, you probably lose about 10% a year. Now, we could take a little bit more, but we're just going to go ahead and say that it's just this half-ounce gilder, just under half-ounce gilder. Just under quarter-ounce gilder. And we're going to say that's the value we lose because we're taking really good care of it and spending maybe extra Buffalo every year on cleaning procedures and car washes. So that's what 1 year looks like. Now, maybe I decide I don't want to do this. I don't want to lose the money anymore. I'm going to sell my vehicle and get out while the getting's good. So I did that. But here's what the actual costs look like every year for owning a car. A car that you may not even drive that much. And by the way, I'm not against that. I think you should live those experiences. But if you can collect silver and get some enjoyment out of collecting silver and gold and stacking, this right here is the money that you would save just on that one vehicle. That total is 1 1/10 ounces and 19 ounces of silver. And that works out to near as makes no difference, $3,600 a year. Well, I'll tell you right now, that's a lot of premiums that I could afford to lose. So guys, I just thought this would be a fun exercise. And I do normally do a coin review in every video, but I thought I showed off enough coins for this video. I'm gonna leave it here, and I'm just gonna say thank you so much for watching. I appreciate all the subscribes, the likes, and the comments. If you wanna leave a comment, but you don't know what to say, the word will be hobby. I always appreciate those of you who support the channel with just that one word. So with that, this has been the Anecdotal Economist. That is my 2 ounces worth. Remember, I'm pulling for you, and we're all in this together.
Kilogram, you're the dragon, you're the rabbit.
Okay, let's look at the money side now. Watch as I pull this bad boy out of here. Absolutely stunning once you get it out of the case. Feeling the weight of this in my hand. Oh, that's such a good feeling.
I never had enough gold.